Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you are all doing well. To start things off, I thought this was actually incredibly cool, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. Litecoin promoter John Moore tweeted a DIY do-it-yourself crypto-friendly sign that he hopes will catch fire with local merchants who pay exorbitant credit card fees. The sign lists several expensive payment options such as American Express, MasterCard, Visa, and Discover Card, followed by a list of cryptocurrencies including Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. Venmo is also below. Vice President at Nationwide Merchant Solutions, Moore pitched or made a pitch to summer vendors in the Northern Hemisphere who sell small ticket items along the boardwalk and could maximize profits by eliminating expensive credit card fees. He said, let's think of any business that's by the shore, that's by the beach, maybe that's by a lake. Boardwalk. I'm thinking Jersey Shore, right in the boardwalk, you could see this sign. So apparently this is something that you could print out yourself. And the idea is, as there are QR codes right here, it could be something very simple that someone just simply has to scan with their phone and they're able to make a payment. And you are able, as a merchant, to be able to bypass all of the very high fees that there are associated with credit and or debit cards from Visa and MasterCard. He said the coolest thing about it is payment options. Not only does it let the customer know that they accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Venmo, and obviously Apple Pay, and credit cards, they can actually just send payment right to the sign right here. Typically, merchants use cash registers and point-of-sale payment devices to swipe credit cards and accept payments. The crypto cash register sign is a merchant's tablet. It requires the buyer to use their smartphone to scan the displayed QR code of a preferred payment option. The code then sends the merchant's cryptocurrency wallet address to the buyer. No extra hardware is required. A lot of people ask me, well, Johnny, what happens if someone sends payment to the sign? Let's say somebody sends payment with Litecoin, and they go up and scan the QR code right there. It matches up with the address. They send $50 over. How does the business validate the payment came in? Well, they just have to generate the QR code from an app that they have control of. If you've never sent a cryptocurrency payment, it's incredibly easy. I saw this. I thought the story was kind of cool. This isn't paid advertisement. If you know, I do not do that on this channel. I just love the idea. I mentioned this before in 2017 when I first started the channel. I love the idea of small businesses or even larger businesses. I understand that, chains and stuff can't really do stuff like this. But if you do have your own business or you have a friend who has a business, especially I have a couple of friends who have a couple stores and stuff like that, and the amount of fees that they pay for Visa and MasterCard are out of this world. I mentioned to them several times to actually start accepting Bitcoin. I think it was Bitcoin, XRP, and Ether. This was many, many moons ago. They told me they would, they didn't, and they still complain about their high fees, so I don't even bring it up anymore. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool, and without further ado, let's move on. Ripple is in the news. The Ripple development team has launched the first Fiat Interledger Protocol, or ILP connector, and it is expected to be a big step towards interoperability with traditional financial systems and gain massive adoption. During the ILP Summit 2019, the team behind the development of the Interledger Protocol included Vanessa Pestrito, launched the first ILP Fiat connector. In a presentation by Stephen Thomas, the co-founder of Interledger, a streaming payments demo was carried out during the summit. According to the XRP Research Center, the ILP Fiat system could be a huge step forward towards interoperability with traditional systems and critical mass adoption. Vanessa Pestrito, a director at Spring, tweeted about the event, expressing her excitement of the adoption during driving development. This has been something that a lot of people have been very excited about, or rather are very excited about, because this has finally launched. The idea is, and what many people don't know, and I'm so glad that a lot of this has how do I say this? During the early years of when Ripple first came about and XRP was a brand new thing on the block, a lot of people didn't understand the exact motto or the reasoning behind what Ripple was doing. The idea has always been to get people to use X current or what have you, whatever X product they plan on using. And eventually this will all be streamlined through actual XRP. So this is why everyone on the Ripple fan people get very excited whenever something like this actually ends up coming out. David Schwartz, the chief technological officer at Ripple, is convinced that the Interledger protocol would become a global payment system. Back in 2018, Schwartz said by connecting bank ledgers and existing infrastructure investments via the ILP, Banks are taking the first step in improving global payments today and in enabling a true internet of value. Following the development of the ILP, Schwartz added that Ripple's X-Rapid solution would make it possible for banks and other financial entities to save time and money when carrying out cross-border remittances. He pointed out that Ripple's products would lay the foundation for the next 5 decades in the world of finance. While there have been rumors that Ripple is working with Swift, can't tell you for certain if that's an actual thing. It appears that the Ripple team and the Ripple company has become so large that they are actually able to kind of, challenge Swift. They have hundreds of banks under their belt. A lot of countries around the world don't like Swift. They are leaving Swift at a rapid pace. So I think when I was looking at the letters earlier, I realized that eventually in the future, when people are talking about sending payments around the world, it'll no longer be like the SWIFT letters. It'll probably just be ILP because of what they're doing and how many partnerships that they end up having. Kind of crazy. Let's move on. So here's where it gets a little interesting. And this is something, a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about are things that are true. There are also things that are in my head often when I think about things. For those who don't know, maybe you did not know, now you will know. I'm obsessed with investing. I'm obsessed with making money. It's something that I'm pretty good at. Not bragging like at all. It's just like, you know, when you're good at something, you kind of stick to it. I love the idea of investing. I love the idea of not having to work, or in the idea of 10 to 15 years, I won't have to think about the word work, or I may never have to say the word job out loud again. The idea is to buy cryptocurrencies as a something for the future, to be able to continue to make money from, and also to buy property, land, what have you, anything that allows me to make money on the side to be able to support me, my family, and my future kids. Like I said, if you didn't know, now you do know. So everything that's going to come up kind of makes a lot of sense to you, because things in the world seem a certain way, but they are not actually that way. And that is not my tinfoil hat kind of talking. It's more like the world isn't doing very well. It's not probably going to get any better anytime soon. And it's cryptocurrencies that are actually something that can be, and probably maybe will be, a solution to everything that's actually happening. So yeah, fund manager Travis Kling believes that more people are becoming open to the idea of Bitcoin becoming a haven from central banks and their irresponsible monetary policies. Travis Kling, chief investment officer at Ikagi Asset Management, believes that more people are becoming open to the idea of Bitcoin becoming a haven from uncertainties in the mainstream market. According to MarketWatch, Kling suspects that the recent decision by the Fed, the European Central Bank, and the Bank of Japan, among others, with respect to the monetary policies, played a role in April's Bitcoin price surge. The Ikagi fund manager says central bank policies becoming more politicized might be causing a great deal of anxiety for investors. To deal with the uncertainties, many are flocking towards Bitcoin and other virtual currencies. And really, really quick, I remember in 2018, I kept on saying I found it very odd, and I tried to make sure everyone's mind also expanded exactly as well in the same exact direction. I said, don't you think it's very odd, to 2018 time, that prices are continuously falling down very, very rapidly, but we have news that all these mega entities are now starting to get into the cryptocurrency space. And by the summertime, by the time we had news about the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange getting into the cryptocurrency space, I kept on saying, doesn't it seem really weird? And I started hypothesizing or thinking that that the main people in traditional finance realized that the cracks were starting to show, huge cracks, huge fissures in the wall, in the ground. And now that I thought that they would start using cryptocurrencies as a stock market 2.0. And by the end of 2018, this is exactly the same exact phrase that was flowing from these people. Remember, like when the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, both, like the heads of them both said that they think that Bitcoin could be a worldwide currency. I still believe, this may not have happened yet at this present time. I think what's going to end up happening is that cryptocurrencies are being marketed and are being built up. This is why you see there's such a huge amount of rapid development around them. I think the old way of making money is no longer sustainable. It has to do with debt. It has to do with kind of tearing things down. And I feel like that cryptocurrencies are going to be, or rather will be, the next wave of assets and ways to kind of make money. If that kind of makes, it should have made perfect sense. That was all in perfect English. He said, Bitcoin is becoming a hedge against irresponsible monetary and fiscal policy. We had the Fed do a complete U-turn into dovish mode. Then everybody else followed, the European Central Bank and the Bank of Japan. We now have this setup where they, central banks, have become politicized both in the US and globally. It's the new world we are living in. Kling's talk of politicized central banks can be observed in the Fed's decision to go into permanent quantitative easing in 2019. Many analysts attributed this move to political pressure from the White House. For Kling, the decision highlights the original appeal of Bitcoin, an alternative currency based on decentralized technology that's free from government meddling. Kling adds that Trump's influence on the Fed's policy is so bullish for cryptocurrencies. He said, "Look at what's happening with monetary fiscal policies, and the U.S. policy isn't nearly as..." It says wrecked right here. I hope that the person who wrote this article or who wrote this, so in English, there's a word called wrecked, W-R-E-C-K, like as in a shipwrecked. I hope that this person didn't write wrecked thinking that that was the appropriate spelling of wrecked. And U.S. policy isn't nearly as wrecked, as the EU, Japan, and China. Close your eyes and imagine the next 5 to 10 years. Do you really think that these policy experiments are going to end well? Pretty much what's happening, for those who don't know, the combination of quantitative easing, a euphemism for money printing and fiscal deficits means that the burden of negative interest rates will most likely be transferred to consumer bank accounts. There's so many things happening behind the scenes that people just don't really understand or just really are not really paying attention to. Money printing causes inflation. Inflation causes things to rise rapidly. When you have too much inflation, we have, I wouldn't say the word hyperinflation immediately, but things are not looking very well, especially when world governments and federal banks are thinking of as their first thing to do in order to keep the economy afloat is to print more money to increase the rate of inflation. And this is why, once again, I think that Bitcoin is positioning itself. And it's very weird because it's just a protocol. Like there's no one inside of a computer like moving cranks and levers. It's just a protocol. It's setting itself up to be this major thing in the entire world. And this is why I made that video a couple days ago where I was talking about the actual, like the idea of in 5 years, a world where Bitcoin is kind of this thing that we all kind of use, and it's looking more and more likely. This ties in directly into the next thing as well. Private pension fund managers should consider dipping their toes into Bitcoin. This is what Mark W. Yusko believes. The Morgan Creek digital co-founder lately projected that cryptocurrencies as a mean to balance the risk associated with private pension funds. The recommendation came after the pension industry posted its second worst performance since 1950 in the fourth quarter of 2018, exposing millions of retirees to a financially unstable future. Pensions have precisely wrong asset allocation at the precisely wrong time. Things will get truly ugly when, to funding levels and ability to honor commitments when valuations mean revert. Okay, none of that was in proper English. Here's a little chart that we have right there. The statement was further clarified by Yusko's project partner at Morgan Creek and a renowned Bitcoin bull, Anthony Pompliano, in his recent published newsletter. Pomp went on that a majority of the private pension funds were highly concentrated on equities. He named Japan's government pension investment fund the world's largest pension fund for keeping around 50% of their assets in global equities. As a result, the fund has already lost about $136 billion in quarter 4 of 2018, leading to a 91% quarter loss. So I don't even know where to begin. It's a very deep topic. We are all going to get older. There's no way around that. What we have is, and this is why I mentioned this a couple of months ago, and also in 2018, the next step, and this is going to happen at some point, like it's kind of unavoidable, but it's taking a bit longer than I think that it personally should, is that we have major institutions finally getting into the cryptocurrency space. We have universities in America who are getting into the cryptocurrency space. We have mega hedge funds and all this other stuff, but what we're waiting for are pensions. Pensions pretty much meaning when people retire or we get older and we need, or rather people have money that they've been putting into of a fund or some type of thing to supplement them or help them when they are older and they have retired. These things are not doing well. They're continuing to not do well because the things that they are usually invested in are losing value or usually typically sometimes based on debt. And part of the problem is that the world that we were told about when we were young is no more. There aren't stable jobs anymore. Most people, I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there as well, know people who are working 2 to 3 jobs. And this is why the prospect of cryptocurrencies is very, very big, because the idea of in 30, 40 years, people being able to retire and live off of their pension or live off of their social security, whatever the case might be, none of that is going to be there. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to. So first off, why it's important is because the banks and the other institutions, governments, whatever the case may be, they know this. They know that these pensions aren't doing well. Then they're going to continue to not do well because they're running out of money, especially with the rapidly aging population that we have. For those who don't know, may have never seen this before, because of the technology that we have right now, as in this date right now, kids who are being born are going to have an average lifespan of over 100 years, just because of the medicine that we have right now, and logically the medicine that we're going to have in another 20 years, which will allow them to probably live even longer, to around 120 to maybe 140 years old. Those aren't made up numbers. That's exactly what's going to happen. So even us, if you are in your late 20s, early 30s, maybe even 40s and 50s, you probably have the possibility of living to maybe 90 or 100 as like a very normal thing. The problem is that when you have so many people who are aging, you have a rapidly aging population, and you have a lot less people who are actually going to be able to be doing stuff in the workforce, especially as we have automation coming forward. So this is why we have a lot of talk right now, and a lot of people may roll their eyes, but it may eventually save your life one day, as far as when it comes to like universal basic income, being paid from the government or whatever the entity might be, simply because there won't be enough jobs to go around, and everyone will be too old to be able to actually do the jobs that need to be done in order to make the money for the people to put inside of these pension funds that will then pay for you as you get older. Get what I'm saying? So the next step that we are waiting for, and I'm desperately waiting for it, is the arrival of pension funds who are going to be throwing money into the cryptocurrency space. Why? Because these pension funds they don't throw thousands. Sometimes they barely throw millions. They throw billions of dollars into them because you need money to be able to back up and to support the people who are going to be getting older. And as we are almost 8 billion people on this planet, it's expected that we're going to be 10 billion people by the year 2050. It may seem far away. It's really not. You need something to kind of back all of this up. And the idea is that the solution could be Bitcoin, simply because, once again, we know how many Bitcoin there are going to be. We have a rough idea of how many Bitcoin have been lost. And the inflation rate of Bitcoin is going to be steady, and it's mathematically proven, and therefore it is a greater metric of creating wealth and sustaining wealth than actual funds and government-based funds and bonds that we actually have right now. Hope that all makes sense. And also, this is also incredibly important. For those who are not looking at the screen, this is an article from the New York Times. It says Medicare's trust fund is set to run out in 8 years, and Social Security will run out in 16 years. The Medicare trust fund will be depleted in 2026. By contrast, the government said last year that the trust fund would be exhausted in 2029. This, for those who do not live in the United States, who may have a different word or phrase or whatever the case might be, this pretty much means the money that you get when you reach a certain age. This person is aged in this photo. That money is going to run out. What happens when you, listening to this video in another 20 years, find out that you can't retire, or you can retire, but the money that you would have retired on is no longer there? There's just no money for you. This is why, once again, backtracking to what I said at the beginning of the video, this is why I'm so obsessed with investing, because I've watched documentaries, I've read many books, I've watched many not even TED Talks, like just I absorb as much information from analysts and from economists as possible. And a lot of them say the only way that people are going to be able to survive in the next 20 to 30 years, I mentioned before in another video, 2018, we're going to have a very dark future ahead of us. And it pretty much comes down to the fact there are going to be a lot of people who are not paying attention, who think that you can frivolously spend, you can spend as much as you want, you can buy a Lamborghini, you can buy a so-and-so, you can buy a large house that you can't really pay for. And then 20, 30 years when you try to retire, there's no money there at all. Watch a documentary if you can on like the Social Security crisis, type in like retirement crisis, like any of these things, like watch a good 10 to 15 documentaries. you will understand exactly what I mean. The way forward, for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do this as well, when the crypto market does actually completely go insane once again, and we do have another bull market, what have you, so and so and so, I think I'm going to make a dedicated video to other alternative investments that you or other people can actually get into, simply because I think crypto is going to last for a very long time. However, crypto does nothing if it's just sitting on your computer and you don't have any kind of extra money flowing in. The point is, the world as we know it, and I know it sounds scary, but financially, it's ending. We are entering a very huge shift. The world powers that we have right now are expected to not be the world powers within the next 10 to 15 years. It's pretty much expected to be India, Russia, and China. That's kind of the easiest way of kind of saying, and this is why we focus so much on India on this channel as far as cryptocurrency regulations, because they're expected to be an economic powerhouse. Like, they're expected to be larger than life, pretty much when it comes to finance. The point is, a lot of people are starting to realize, and this is where it gets kind of weird, that Bitcoin is probably the solution to the pension crisis and the retirement crisis that is already happening right now, and that is going to be accelerated over the next 10 years. Imagine, I know it sounds scary, but this is why I focus so much on telling people to, not financial advice, but to accumulate and make sure that your money is in the right cryptocurrencies, not something that you heard from a friend or you heard from a blog, you heard on Telegram that someone messaged you and they were like, yeah, buy this, you'll make tons of money. Pay attention to the right cryptocurrencies, the ones that are going to be integrated into the New York Stock Exchange, into the NASDAQ. These are going to fuel your retirement fund so that at some point in the next 3 to 5 years, hopefully, you will be able to pull money out or buy something directly with the crypto, be able to buy a house, buy investment properties, and you'll be able to kind of make money on the side, because not something that we talk about a lot, but this is happening very rapidly. And the world governments, for what it's worth, understand that there's a problem, but they usually do nothing to actually fix it. What's going to end up happening is that even the last financial crisis that we had in 2008, 2009 was never fixed. It was fixed by money being printed and being thrown at the banks. And we know that that didn't help, because we're actually, while stock market prices may go up, it's not an actual indicator of the amount of, what's it called? Of the amount of debt that's actually flowing through the world. We have a lot of analysts right now who believe that in the coming weeks, Bitcoin is poising itself for a major move. No one knows exactly if this is going to happen, but a lot of people around the world are now posting these things that they believe that, based on the signs and the symbols, that Bitcoin is poising itself for some type of a breakout, because they're seeing the same movements that they saw in 2014, 2015. A lot of people are saying that it's mimicking exactly what we saw in 2017 before the prices completely lost their minds. The numbers that we have right now floating around, depending on the day, is that Bitcoin is either going to, it's going to, apparently to them, according to them, Bitcoin is going to shoot up and is going to be anywhere from $8,400 to around $13,000 over the coming weeks and the coming months. And just to kind of, yeah, I mean, here it is right here for those who are not looking at the screen. It's a Bloomberg article, and it says $3.3 trillion of global debt starts to tip the scale. Bloated borrowing leads financial commentary. Also, pessimism about stocks and spiking Bitcoin fever. I wonder who these people were many years ago that got me into the cryptocurrency space. I don't know if it was just a random happening, if it was just kind of meant to be, but I remember many times these people talking about, by the year 2019, by the year 2020, that stocks wouldn't be doing well, that the market would be tilting a certain way, economic policies would completely change. We have an enormous amount of global debt, and this global debt is not going to be repaid. Governments typically in countries do not normally repay their debt to other countries. And it's gotten to the point where it is believed that by the end of this year or by sometime in 2020, that many countries around the world will start to teeter, and eventually traditional stock markets will then falter. And this is kind of why I think, once again, if you kind of lay everything out in front of you and like look at it objectively, why all these stock exchanges around the world are so desperate to get into the cryptocurrency space, why so many governments around the world are so desperate to make cryptocurrency laws and to anti-money laundering and all this other stuff, because they're expecting, the nicest way of saying it is, trillions of dollars to actually flow into the cryptocurrency space. This is why we keep having ideas and news and all this other stuff that by the time cryptocurrencies do start going back up once again, that we are going to be entering into a multi-trillion-dollar cryptocurrency market, because the old way, or the old system, or the old financial world will begin to crumble. And this is where crypto will kind of lead the charge. It's all very interesting, like when you kind of place everything together and you really understand exactly what's happening around the world. Like even if you watch the news or like listen to certain things, you really don't get it. It doesn't really kind of line up for you until you realize you think it's difficult now for people who are trying to retire. Imagine not being able to retire at all. Like imagine, think of a weird scenario or a world where if you hold a fraction of a Bitcoin, you are kind of set for life. And if you don't, you are, you have to work. You have to continue to do stuff. You have to continue to find ways to put money into your pocket, because there's just not enough money to go around. Not to end it on a dark note, it's more just like a realistic, it's going to happen. Like there's no way around it at this point. Governments have been trying to figure out ways to kind of raise taxes to put more money into these funds to be able to pay for retirees, but it's just not feasible or plausible to kind of do it at this point. So hold on to your horses, and please, and I implore you, watch documentaries, learn more about it, and also just learn how to save money, learn other investments, start watching documentaries, or even just YouTube videos on like buying land, starting a vineyard, buying studio apartments, just something as a way to be able to get money when there's not enough money to go around. Like I said, not to end it on a dark note, but I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever in this crazy world you might be. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. I do appreciate all of your support. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Vlad the Impaler, Gilboa Snake, Rai, Brady Niels, L. Doug, Arthur Yaku, Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Nick Mangelavodi, Travis Haynes, Yasha Harari, Anthony Charles, Nick Kanaya, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Wise Night Owl, Joey Carafa, Crypto Joe, Jim Gardner, Jared Schneider, Jeremy Fox, Amy Starsheen, Richie Rich III, Jeffrey Ramsey, Cody, Carl Burchinoff, Paxis, Jeffrey Dam, Nicholas, One Earth, One Piece, One Love, Setsuna, Minting Coins, Crypnotic, RF Dusty, Shaolin Fried Rice, Crypto Artist, Cole D3D, and SC Verzeli Fine Art. Thank you all very, very much for your generosity. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.